What's up, guys? Welcome to the next Critique the Community. If you would like to be a part of the next photography contest / critique, it starts right now. What's the genre?
The genre is any image that you've taken with a camera previous to the one that you own right now.
Okay.
So like an older camera.
Okay. And what was your thought process in coming up with this genre?
Everybody says like, oh, you need the newest camera to take the best images and everything. I kind of feel like cameras have maxed out like 10 years ago for the most part. And so I just thought it'd be interesting to see some of your older images that maybe you took 5 years ago, 10 years ago that aren't on the latest and greatest mirrorless camera. One caveat though is if you only own one camera and you just bought it fairly recently, I'm saying it needs to be older than 2020.
Okay, yeah, so we're gonna see older images from a lot of professional photographers. I think that could be interesting. I mean, certainly us, we used to take a lot more pictures years ago than we did now, so if you asked me what's better, your old photography or your current photography, I would be forced to say my past photography because I was doing cool stuff all the time.
Now, there might be some people who recently bought an old camera. They can enter anything, if you're shooting on film or maybe you bought an old DSLR as like a travel camera or something, like that qualifies too. So it doesn't have to be an image taken before 2020.
Okay.
It just has to be on an older camera.
I see. And of course, we want to know what camera you shot it on and give us a little story about how you took the image and lit it and everything. We've also got some cool prizes for this contest. We'll talk about that in just a little bit. Let's get to this critique.
All right, so this critique that we're looking at is the most challenging images that you've ever taken. And hopefully we'll hear some interesting stories because as you see in this image, I imagine this is all about the timing, but it also could be about the hike.
Did you read all of these descriptions?
No,
because right before you showed up, I read everything.
Okay.
So I kind of know the basic idea from each one of these things.
I don't. Maybe I read one or two like weeks ago, but I don't know the stories behind all of these.
Okay. Well, this one was taken by Dan McLeod, and obviously this was taken in Alaska, and this is the type of event that you can kind of pay to experience, right? So if you book the right campground within like a 2-week period, or you book the right photo tour, you're almost guaranteed to see bears eating fish at these dams or waterfalls or whatever.
Yeah.
So he said, he was trying to plan this well in advance. I don't think he booked the like a photo tour, but he said you have to book a campground right next to one of these waterfalls. And they usually sell out within minutes of going up because photographers from all over the world want this shot.
The camping sites.
Yeah, the camping sites do. So he booked that. Then he said the other problem is there are no tripods allowed. And so you can imagine, he didn't shoot this on a super long lens. He shot this on a 150 millimeter lens, but he said you're just sitting there waiting with a monopod. And then, of course, the biggest thing is you want the shot of the fish going into the bear's mouth.
Yeah.
And that is far more difficult than you would imagine, because I think we've all seen the footage of this happening on National Geographic or whatever. And with a video camera, you can kind of just sit there and just hit record and go have a beer, and you're going to come back and you'll probably get 20 of these shots on video. But when it comes to images, you have to see the fish jumping, and in a fraction of a second you have to snap it, or you have to just like hold the button down all the time and hope you never run out of memory card space, right?
You shoot 20 frames a second or something.
Yeah, you can only do that for a couple of minutes on a 1 terabyte card, shooting in RAW. So he says he worked on this, I think he said for 4 days.
Yeah.
And then he finally got the shot. And I think it's a cool shot.
Now, I don't know if it's the same photographer, but it's got to be. There were some other entries that were similar. Like the fish is in the bear's mouth and stuff, but it could have just been 2 people.
He does say he submitted multiple from the same trip.
Okay. Now, I used to live in Alaska, and I don't know where Katmai National Park is. I just looked it up. It looks like it's just west of Kodiak Island, so not too far from Anchorage, but I've never experienced this.
He had to get there by float plane.
Oh, okay.
I think the new Sony sports camera can do the like pre-record thing where it's always taking raw photos, and then when you hit shoot, it like saves the last 10 seconds of shots.
Yep.
And that technology changes this from an ultra difficult image to one of the easier images to, obviously he had to book the thing, he had to get there by float plane. That's difficult. But when you have the gear that can do the pre-recording.
Is that the camera? He has a
No.
He's got an D850. So he's shooting on an older.
Yeah, so I'm not saying he's cheating. I'm just saying, like I just saw a post on Reddit the other day of this guy who was like, I have been a digital artist for 20 years and I do this like whimsical stuff, and my career is ruined because everyone thinks that my pictures are AI. But I've been doing this for 20 years and I've become really good at it.
Yeah.
But it just looks like AI now.
Yeah.
And so this is kind of a similar situation where.
Remember, Pi, Jers, and I were having this conversation of like, when an image starts to look fake, but it's not, does it lose its value? And it sounds like it has.
Yeah.
The difference here, though, I mean, I'm assuming these are just the 2 bears, but you could imagine there could be like 7, 8, 10 bears right on the edge. And so you do have to focus on the bear that was going to get the fish.
Well, I mean,
you're doing
if you
the
sit
pre-roll
here for 8 hours a day waiting for the perfect. I mean, I think they're all getting fish, right? Like I was there during a salmon run, and it was wild to see how many fish there were.
Yeah.
I didn't see the bears, but yeah, I'm not trying to understate what this photographer did. I'm just saying, with new technology, this shot becomes a lot easier.
And with the D850, we know that camera shot, I don't know off the top of my head, but like 5 frames a second. So that adds.
Sure, but the fish jumping into the mouth, that's got to be less than 1 second, right?
I don't know. I mean, you don't have an image like this? I bet you this is a lot harder than I feel like you're playing this down.
No, I was that statement. I was building it up. I was saying like multiple frames per second doesn't help you at all with a shot like this.
Yeah. Because the next one, it's in the mouth, and the one before that, it's not even leaving the water.
Exactly.
This could be happening so fast.
Yeah. Are you ready to rate this?
I'm ready. Yeah.
3, 2, 1. 4 stars. I think maybe my biggest problem is like that bear in the background. Like
I love it.
It just looks sickly or something. It doesn't look like a majestic creature. It looks like a character at Disney World or something. I don't know. Or it's like dying of cancer or something. I don't know what's going on with that bear in the background.
He just looks like I'm ready for my turn. It's like
hey man. How'd you get with one? Show me how.
I don't know. I think that adds interest to me. Like, I don't know about him being sickly and dying. He doesn't look that.
Something about his hair, man. It doesn't look good. He's like half bear, half hyena.
What's wild though is if you've been around these bears, these things stink, right?
Do they?
Yeah, because they're just walking around in filth and everything. But photographically, they look pretty clean. I mean, that guy on the top looks like his coat's really nice and clean. But sometimes, especially after this, like a month after this, when all the fish are dead, and they're all spawning, and there's carcasses everywhere.
Yeah.
These guys are crawling through all that, and it's a bad smell, and it's not just the fish, it's them.
The smelliest animal of my entire life.
Camel?
No. It was the pig in Iceland.
Yeah.
We were filming, I think, Photographing the World 1.
Yeah.
And we'll talk about Photographing the World 2 in just 1 second. But there was this pig on the side of the road, and I'm like, oh, how cute. You got it out of your pen or whatever. And I go up and I scratch him on his head. And my fingers, it was the nastiest smell.
You woke me up in the van. You were like, smell my fingers. I was like, what? That's the worst smell ever.
Yeah, and I just immediately thought, like, I can't believe I eat this animal. Maybe all animals are nasty, and I'm just out of the loop with what I'm actually putting in my body. But that is a good transition. For each one of these contests, we've been doing a big sale on one of our tutorials. We decided to do Photographing the World 2. This tutorial, we travel to the most places we have ever been for a tutorial. We had to pull it up to remember everything. So in this tutorial, we go to Italy, Cambodia, Hong Kong, Singapore, and New Zealand with Elia Liccardi. And we're photographing cityscapes and landscapes. We're doing stars, and we're doing like temples and stuff. It's wild. So images are all over the place on this, but if you're into landscape or cityscape photography, check this out. For this month only, while we're doing this contest, we're selling it for just $59. It's been for sale for $300 for years now. So $59, cheapest price it's been. Check it out at fstoppers.com/contest.
Let's move to the next image.
This one was super interesting.
I wish our community had more images like this. Like when you see a good classic like commercial shoot.
Yeah.
I love this type of photography. This always was kind of what I wanted to do when I first got into photography. It feels editorial and just clean. It's a lot's gone into this, and there might be a lot of post-production involved, but it doesn't scream post-production. Some of these images we see, especially the landscapes, they're so over the top,
This was taken by Bob McClanahan, and this is one of these shots that back in the 80s or 90s, you would have been like, wow, like that's a big production going on there. But then recently you see something like this and you immediately think, oh, they just photoshopped in the hot air balloon. That's the easiest Photoshop job ever, right? I mean, it's like the sky is almost a solid light blue color.
I would tackle this by just shooting the hot air balloon at that height for 20, 30, 100 frames.
Yeah.
And then tackling the foreground and blending them together.
It's the easiest ever. But because this is a commercial photo shoot, they did it for real. So he said they tied it down, so he's photoshopped out ropes holding the hot air balloon in place. He said a Napa lifestyle image for the cover of their annual report. So I don't know if that's like a wine company's annual report or, they just got money to burn. So they're like, let's do it for real. But the funny thing is that they do it for real. Then he photoshops the ropes out. Okay. Then they're unhappy with the choice of the wine that they...
Wait a minute.
So they were like, hey, can you just swap out the wine in her hand? Which is like, okay, now it's like even more fake. And then right before they went to go publish it, one of the internal lawyers says, this looks too dangerous. We cannot publish that.
Wait, what?
So they never even used it. It's like the most corporate story I've ever heard in my life.
Wow. They can't use it on an internal report. It's not even published.
It's so stupid.
I feel like this genre of photography is probably one of those like hidden gems where you still can make a lot of money doing it. Like you said, it seems like so much money was wasted. I did this viral photo shoot where I took a taser and tased people, and I've done several viral photo shoots, but that was the first one. And I put them all online, and I had somebody from one of the car companies, I can't remember who it was, in Germany or something, and they were like, we want to use this image of this girl, which almost looks like she's naked, screaming in pain, but she had more of a smile on her face. We want to use that for the same usage, cover of a internal, report. And their budget was $5,000, so I made $5,000 on an image that I just did for something else, right?
Yeah, that's awesome.
And hearing Bob's story about this, I feel like there's a lot of shoots still like this where they want unique images that are real, featuring the correct bottle that they want. It's not something you just create with AI.
Yeah, stuff like this does still exist, and I think this type of shoot is what got me so excited about photography. The idea that I could be paid to like manage a shoot like this and hire the hot air balloon and get it tied down in the exact right spot, like that is kind of what was so romantic about photography for me. A lot has changed. I never really did photo shoots like that, but I do appreciate they still exist.
Do the people in the basket kind of bother you? I feel like everyone's staged in this perfect moment, but then the people in the top, like I don't think I want them cheering on the people on the bottom at the table. That might seem a little weird, but it just kind of feels like, it's a production manager who's like, have we got the shot with the glasses? And then the guy firing the...
So I was thinking, when I first saw this, I assume it's real because of this contest. It's difficult images. But it looks so photoshopped just because of what it is. I was like, they should have had the hot air balloon interacting with the table in some way. And I don't know what that would be. Like, I think this is pretty far in the background. But, if they could have been pouring wine out of the hot air balloon and somebody's catching it, I think that would have been like, oh, damn, that's a real photo. But it doesn't matter because the image was never used anyway.
Yeah.
Next.
Well, we never rated it.
Oh my goodness. 3, 2, 1. I don't know. Like, it's not that good of an image. Like,
I like it. I feel like...
I think you like it because of the story. But I think, had you seen this...
I picked this out. Like, I didn't read the story, but this stood out to me.
But because you knew it was real, though, because of this. I'm saying if you saw this on, like, a stock photo website, I think you would try to crop out the hot air balloon.
I'm thinking about our community, too, and I just don't see images like this, and it stood out to me, and I thought, wow, there's somebody shooting this kind of work.
Where have I seen this image before? Have we critiqued this image before?
I don't think so, but
It's certainly a memorable image for me, whether I've seen this on a critique or I've just seen this floating around our community. I remember this image. Dan said that he got a bodybuilder friend of his to model for this, and then I guess he found these props. He doesn't really mention where he got the helmet from. I mean, don't you have one of those helmets?
I saw one of these at like TJ Maxx for like $30.
So maybe that's where he went.
And I was like, man, that is so crazy. Like, it's a one-off. They just happened to like have it there. I think it was like smashed in the back.
Okay.
So I just bought it. It's in one of the sets in Charleston.
But like the chest looks awesome. The hook looks awesome. The shorts with the rips look awesome. He says he shot this at a lake and then composited everything else in. I think he did an amazing job. This looks super cool to me.
Do you keep thinking this guy's bleeding on the leg?
Maybe a little bit, but then I look down there and...
So what is the story with the face? Because that's what ruins this for me. It's like, come on. They put some cheesy, like, it should almost not even have a face that's seen.
Well, that is funny that I never even saw that.
That's what my mind goes straight to.
Yeah, I thought that was like a reflection or something. Yeah, that doesn't look good.
Yeah, maybe it should be a reflection of the sky or something, but it just feels like...
I don't like that.
It feels like this guy took some awesome image and then, like, made a meme out of it by putting his face in there.
That's true.
Like the blacks aren't right.
I didn't know that. Yeah, it's all like hazed out.
Yeah.
That is weird. Okay, well, I was singing the praises of this image, but now I'm a little turned off. I still love it though. Let's rate it. 3, 2, 1. I'm still going 4.
I'm like 3, but does it belong in your portfolio with that face in there? I feel like
it is a weird
I don't want to give it a
face.
2, but I'm kind of like it needs. Just fix the face. Because
if nothing else, leave the face and just like
burn it.
Yeah, raise the blacks a little bit. Why is it so weird and washed out looking?
Crush the blacks a little.
Yeah, what'd I say? Raise the blacks?
Yeah.
Make them blacker. Whatever the statement is.
It's tricky because I don't know if you should really. I mean, is that even the right helmet that somebody like this would use? Like, I don't.
No, but it's like a fantasy image. No, I mean the helmet has to still have the suit.
So if it's fantasy, just make the whole portal black or make it reflecting the sky or something.
Yeah, I agree. that face pulls me out of it.
But incredible composite work. I mean,
yeah, everything else
this
looks
really
great.
Cool. Didn't you used to date a girl who was really into this?
What?
I just thought it'd be funny.
I was like, man, dude, which one of my girlfriends was into this? No, the opposite. This was taken by Craig Stampfley. And looking at it, I thought he was going to say it's difficult because it's a nude photo in public and we had to hide from everybody. And then I was trying to guess how it was lit, and I assumed there was like a softbox above her firing down, and he composited it out.
What are the real bright lights up there?
I don't know. He doesn't go into that, and he doesn't really talk about the lighting either. But what's difficult about this is that this is the base of a bridge that is inaccessible. So
you have to take a boat to it?
They had to take an inflatable boat to get there. And I'm trying to figure out where he's standing versus where she is standing.
Is he still on the boat?
I don't know.
He put her on the boat and then, dude, that'd be the ultimate prank because you're just like, see ya. You have no clothes and you just leave them,
Yeah, he said he had to wait for a high tide to be able to reach the edge there by boat, and got a cool shot. He said this was during the insanity of COVID and everything, so they're...
Oh, so not only was it hard to get to, but it's like you were putting lives at risk.
You're risking all of our lives to take
Do you think if
photos.
any police like caught you doing this when nothing is going on with COVID that they would come after you, or they would just sit there and watch? They'd be like, it's a photo shoot.
Depends on how politically charged the city is in which you're living. Are you ready to rate it?
Everyone knows we struggle with the nudity fine art stuff, so let's...
3, 2, 1.
I'm a 3. I think it's okay. It's good. Solid. I mean, solid. It's a great image.
I think the lighting on her looks shockingly good, almost to where like it doesn't it doesn't look real to me. It looks like you've added a large light source directly above her. And I wish he had kind of talked about that, but he doesn't seem to talk about lighting. And then the two hot spots in the middle above her, I'm trying to decide if that pulls me out of the photo and those should be toned down, or if that imperfection makes it feel more realistic. Do you have an opinion?
I think if those were removed, it would be a little too flat and boring. But I almost want her to be dodged a little, or a spotlight effect, or something to where your eye just kind of goes to those two lights and then down to her. Where I find myself kind of searching the image. I mean, your mind goes straight to her, but I don't know. I feel like I want some weight with the color on the bottom. Like,
What do you mean weight with the color on the
maybe
bottom?
not color, but luminosity. I just want
On her or the what?
on her.
I feel like that's a perfect exposure on her.
I'm not saying it needs to be perfect, because it is perfect. I'm just saying, like, make it brighter. Maybe it would be a little too bright for you.
You want to ruin it a little bit. Okay, next up. This image was taken by Juby Mercado. And in case you haven't realized, this is all the same girl.
Wait, it is?
It is. And the way he pulled this off.
I thought they were all sisters or something.
Yeah.
But then I was like, the girl in the middle seems like she would be the mom, but she's the same age as the girl on the far left. Looks, well, the youngest maybe. I don't know. You can't see all of them, but
So I think my issue with this image, I had the same issue as you. I didn't realize it was the same person, and that's the whole point, and that's what makes it difficult. And so if people look at your image and then they don't realize that right off the bat, then maybe you've kind of failed.
I'm trying to think, what is the point of this image? Because it's done really well, and I assume what makes it challenging is because they photographed the same girl, or could this be the photographer or something? You know, I feel like a lot of times
No, it's a model, but he said that they had a second model do the posing, and then they photoshopped in her head. I don't exactly...
Oh, so these are different bodies? Like, this isn't the same person?
I don't exactly know.
I guess I'm just wondering, like, it feels like the three people that aren't dressed up should be production people, and they should have makeup in their hands, and, like, they're getting the girl ready, and you're like, oh, it's all the same person.
I do think I would like that better.
Maybe they should all be in these, you know, last night was the Oscars. Like, they should all be in these Oscar dresses, and they feel like it's a super high-end, you know, image. But it's just kind of strange that, like, I'm like reading into, like, are the girls, hey, you made it and you're about to go to the party, but we're left behind. It's like Cinderella story. If this was Nicole Kidman and her three sisters, I'd be like, wow, that's a really cool portrait of a celebrity, like, with her siblings embracing her. But then if it's all Nicole Kidman, you're just kind of like, what's going on?
Right. Well, are you ready to rate it?
I'm ready to rate it.
3, 2, 1. I'm in between a 2 and a 3. Like,
it's still a solid, cool image. I'm trying to figure out, especially when it's this produced, what is the reason for it? What are you trying to say?
To me, it kind of feels like the nerdy photographer that we have been many times, where it's just like, hey, I want to try X, and you're approaching it more from a technical standpoint than you are a photography standpoint. You know what I mean? Let's talk about the prizes for the next contest. As always, you can join the next photography contest at fstoppers.com/contests. And what are we giving away, Patrick?
So for this contest, we're giving away a lot of software. Topaz Labs, have you used their software? I think you've been using their AI
I'm a little angry with Topaz because they make amazing software for what I need it to do. So I bought this like gigapixel software, and then I bought, maybe it's called Video AI.
Well, those are two of the...
So I got their trial, and I needed it for my hot sauce business to upscale images that I made in AI, and then like I photoshopped my bottle into it, and I needed it to be higher res. And then I shot my commercial on this camera that only shoots in 1080p. So I tested out the Video AI that upscales to 4K, and it did an amazing job. So I reach out to them, and I'm like, hey guys, will you give me this software and I'll mention it in this video that I'm going to do, and they never got back to me. So I just paid for it because the software was awesome.
Yeah.
and then so I don't know if David's just in contact with them all the time or whatever, but then they somehow get into this contest and they're giving you guys the free software when I've already paid hundreds of dollars for it.
Well, I bought the software too.
No!
Because I'm doing some stuff with our old promo videos, and I'm upsampling promo videos. Maybe Photographing the World 2 is in 1080, and I'm making it 4K. And I thought, I'll just put it in Premiere and just expand it and export it, and it will look great.
No.
But whatever Video AI 6 is doing, it's so much better. It's sharp. The tech, everything looks great. So we've blown a lot of money on.
I've blown so much money. The software is so expensive. So first place is going to get all their software: Gigapixel 8, Photo AI 3, Video AI 6, and then first place and second place are going to get this iSteady M7.
Yeah, so this is a gimbal, electronic battery-operated gimbal for your iPhone or smartphone. It's got a selfie stick built in, which is really cool. So you can also use it to get interesting angles. But the biggest thing you can see from this photo here is it has a little removable wireless controller that not only lets you set the gimbal down and control it, but you can see through the camera on top of the gimbal there. You can see what your phone is looking at, and you can control it. You can tap your subject. You can have it follow, focus, and all this stuff.
It's insane.
It's really, really cool. This thing is incredible. So first place is going to get one as well, and then second place, that is the second place prize.
And third place will get a free tutorial from fstoppers.com/store.
I can't imagine using a cheap gimbal after having used this one. So
cool.
That will be for the next contest. You can go to fstoppers.com/contest to enter. Let's move on to the next image. Now, this is one of the images that I did read. I think I even made a comment on this one because I was like, oh my gosh, I've tried to do this photo shoot twice. One time with you where we were actually on the water doing it and it failed. And then the other time or two, it's just been planning it to get it all together, and we never got on the water to shoot it. So I feel the pain of this image. And this honestly this looks better than what I was gonna photograph. So,
yeah. So this is interesting because I feel like we just recently went out on this photo shoot with a jet board to try to get a very similar shot. This is better in every way. I will critique his story a little bit because he starts going into, what does he say? Every detail of the shoot was meticulously planned. I'm gonna say, hold your horses there, buddy. It's just a guy riding a jet board in a suit, and you're turning towards the camera. Like, I don't know about every meticulous aspect of this photo shoot needing to be planned, but this...
because in many cases, you do plan them all. I was doing the same sort of shoot. The guy wasn't in a suit.
Yeah.
I planned everything, and then you get out there and realize it's kind of just like you either are spraying and praying and hope you get the one frame where it focuses. Because I was in the water too. I don't know that the camera guy is in the water, but imagine that, an underwater housing and you're in the water doing this. But it's always like, oh, the shot I thought we were going to do with the strobe, it actually looked better with the natural hard light.
Right.
Stuff changes on
Or
set.
I wanted this mountain in the background, but the light's a little bit further to the side, and so it's actually better with the clear background. Like, this image would be a lot cooler if it had a mountain in the background or something. But
or the guy does this, I don't know if this is goofy or regular. This looks regular, but he wants to hold with the right hand, but you're like, you got to hold the camera with your right hand, and now he doesn't feel as in control with the controller in his left hand.
Maybe those are all the meticulous details that he planned ahead of time.
Those are the things I wouldn't have thought of, where I'm like, oh, you can't ride with the left hand. You need to, and I'd say, well, just try to get it to work. You just need to be up for 1 second. Like he's launching right there. But as we found out, the jet board got water in it, and you can't not...
The jet board broke within 5 minutes.
It needs to be running all the time, and then that means you're now taking a moving shot like a sports image.
Well, and to be fair, this shot is not just him getting up and starting. I think he's turning a little bit, and that's what's kind of creating that spray.
Yeah.
This is the photographer himself. So he planned the shoot. He dressed up in a suit. His wife is the one taking the picture.
Wait, this is the photographer?
Yes.
Okay.
And I think it's great. I think it's awesome. The one thing that I keep looking at and trying to figure out Doesn't it look like his suit is not wet? But it has to be.
Yeah, I mean, his hair, I would say, looks even
Yeah,
drier.
his hair looks great.
And it is possible to, like, launch on this and not be wet.
But he's talking about he had to fall so many
I
times.
mean, his pants are definitely soaked, but his jacket, I don't know. It's a killer image. Like, I love this. That's the ultimate profile photo, too.
Right, yeah.
If you have
it
that, you
definitely
never
is.
change it.
And then he posted up a picture or a short on YouTube of them doing it to prove that it's real.
I didn't see that, so I'd love to watch that, too, so I can see how I could improve my chances of getting this shot. You ready to rate this?
3, 2, 1. 4 stars. I like it, and I'm going to argue. First of all, the shoot that you were supposed to do with the jet board was for Profoto. It was a paid shoot.
Yeah, I was trying
Did
to
you
do
just give them the money back?
No, I'm still in the working. I mean, well, they never paid for it, so it's
Right,
just-
but the money was on the way to us when you were done.
well, I mean,
and
we
you
just
just
never
haven't done it.
never invoiced them. So like, we
Right,
just
but I
never-
want the money. So
Okay,
why
I mean-
have I even done the shoot?
Well, I want to do another shoot. I bought the wakeboard. I changed everything around to make it easier because this board was so unreliable. Like he slowed down and crashed one time, and water got in it, and it like you can't start it up again.
Yeah.
So yeah, I want to revisit that shoot, but I've gotten some new Profoto gear in the meantime, so I feel like I should use that gear instead of what we had before.
Okay.
Now this looks like a Oasis album cover.
It
or
does.
something. This
It does
is
look
like-
something like an album cover. So this was taken by Michael Novo. And this was taken at a wedding.
What?
So this is the groomsmen.
Okay.
They're at, he said, a somewhat abandoned airfield, but not, like he said, like a few planes a week land there. He was the wedding photographer, and the wedding videographer had a drone pilot there. So he asked the drone pilot, will you take this photo if I set it up? And the guy said yes. So that, I mean, that's interesting in itself. Like, you're now asking another vendor if you will take a photo for me and who gets credit, you know.
No, I'm sure he's going to take video too. Like this lives in both formats.
Yeah, but you know.
Yeah.
You know how photographers always act like,
Well, it's like
whoever took the photo, whoever pressed the button is the owner of the copyright.
it's like the previous image. I
There
mean,
you go.
Is this the photographer's image or his wife's?
Right,
You know,
right.
technically, the copyright would lie with her, but
Right.
yeah, when you start collaborating, it gets a little murky. But
So he comes to the groomsmen and pitches this idea, and of course the idea is before you walk down the aisle, will you lay on the asphalt in your brand new suits?
yeah,
And he said they weren't too into it, but he convinced them to, and then he really likes the finished image. I do too. I think it's very interesting.
I wonder if the groomsman is into aviation. Like, is that a part of why
Maybe
they got married there?
He didn't mention that, but maybe.
Because I could see somebody like our friend Mike Kelly, who's really into aviation
Mm-hmm.
and also hates weddings. So I could see where he's like, man, like cheesy wedding photos, like I don't really care about that. But an image like this, I'll print this and put it in my office, and it would be, even though you can't see the friends,
Yeah.
he would, I feel like, I'm speaking for Mike, I feel like he would really love this as opposed to the shot of everybody with their arms around each other. you know?
Probably. Do you remember back to your wedding career? Do you remember, asking the wedding party to do something that they're uncomfortable doing, but then it pays off or it doesn't pay off? Do you remember anything like this? I remember this one moment on a dock, and I can't remember if I was the photographer or if you were. But do you
No,
remember when
this-
everybody almost fell in the water?
That was you. That was you.
Oh my gosh, man.
That was one of those, like, when the viral, like, I don't even think YouTube was a big thing yet.
Yeah.
But somehow there were, like, viral videos that would be on CNN and web, news sites. Have you seen this?
Dude,
and I was like,
it was
I
just
should
like
start
that.
filming video. I don't even know if I had something that shot video at the time.
You probably had like a D300, the D200 that would shoot
And
video.
I was like, here we go. This is about to be a disaster.
It was a floating dock. I don't know if it was my idea. I think the wedding party was like, let's do a photo on the dock. And I'm like, sure. And it was a big dock. You'd think it's fine. And this thing tips.
But it was a big wedding party.
Yeah.
It was like 20 people in this wedding party. And so you started having them all walk out, and you were on the opposite shoreline.
I'm getting sweaty just thinking about it.
And I remember I was with you, but I think you were so flustered about like who goes where and lining everyone up. And I'm watching the dock like sinking, and I'm starting to think like, it should be okay, but all of a sudden,
You would think, yeah, it's gonna sink. It's all gonna sink evenly. But they're all on the edge, and that thing went like that. And they all sat down, and I was like, oh my God. Can you imagine if I dunked the entire wedding party?
no matter if it was her idea,
Right,
it would
it's
be on
me,
you.
it's
Yeah.
me.
No, I never did anything like that. I would do simple stuff like the Reservoir Dogs, where everyone's like walking to the camera. There's like no risk.
Sure.
I can't think. I'm sure there was one, but I can't think of anything off the top of my head where it was like that.
I dodged a bullet. Rate it?
Yeah.
3, 2, 1. 4 weddings, I'm gonna give it a 4. It's
I agree.
unique. I feel like in a wedding portfolio, this really stands out.
I'm trying to think. Like I initially said, this could be like an album cover. That'd be a pretty large band. But for some conceptual art that represents a movie poster, a band, an album cover, something, I still think this could be a 4 for that too. I don't read wedding at all, but it makes sense that this is. If this was the bride, you'd be like, that's definitely wedding. But with it just being the guy in the blue suit, I could see where a lot of people don't read into that.
Now, do you
Yes.
fix the 2 guys on the right that aren't straight?
Yeah.
And then if you start doing that, it's like, does it even matter if it's real or not? You know, it's just
Well,
everything becomes Photoshop.
I would like it fixed, but I also don't know that the imperfection in their layout totally hurts the image. I think it's still pretty cool the way that it
My
is.
eye goes right there, right there. Right
To the
there.
guy on the far right,
Just
needs to be pulled down.
those 2 guys just need to come in just a littlest bit.
Yeah.
Next. This image is nuts, dude. Like every time we see tigers and lions and everything,
Yeah.
my first comment is, you think this was taken in a zoo?
Yeah.
But like, this thing has eye contact with the camera. It is like, and the camera appears to be at eye level, which is so wild. I don't think it is. He explains this. He's on a safari, and I believe he's in a
Jeep
like
or some kind of
Jeep,
truck?
yeah. And maybe I'm getting this confused with the bear guy, because I think I might have said that the bear guy, like the very first image, tried 4 times. This guy tried 4 times to find these tigers.
Okay.
And he finally found them, and he said this one comes out, and it starts growling at him, and then just all of a sudden it starts charging him. I'm like, it's so perfect. I mean, it almost feels like AI or something. And I think he's not totally clear, but I think he's on the top of a Jeep, you know, or like shooting over it. And he's saying he's shooting with the Z9 and the 600 millimeter PF. I'm not exactly sure what that is, but he says it's a lightweight lens. But goodness, I mean,
Yeah, this is like such a memorable tiger shot. Because like you said, so many of the ones that we see, they're just sitting there, and it's all about the contrast of their, you know, fur and everything, but it's nothing like this.
mm-hmm.
Like even last critique, I think we had a bear coming out of the ocean,
Yeah.
and it just didn't have this tenacity, you know, it wasn't like ferocious. It just kind of looked defeated. This is like badass.
I mean, it's like a dinosaur or something. It's wild the way it's up on its back legs like that.
So this was difficult just because of the timing and like trying to find him, or
Yeah,
it's
trying
one
to
frame
find
that
him
he
for a
got?
long time. He said, I think he was just like in a continuous autofocus.
Was he in danger? Like, is he in the Jeep to where there's no real chance
I
of danger?
think he's in the
or-
Jeep, and he says the Jeep is like in reverse, ready to run away. But I'm like, it just feels like they're on the same level, right? Maybe this is like up on a little hill and the Jeep's down below, but
Could he have the camera out with the screen tilted and he's shooting?
with a 600 millimeter lens, I don't think so,
yeah,
but
yeah,
I don't
that'd be
know.
difficult. All right, you ready?
Yeah, 3, 2, 1.
Man,
4 stars.
These are
I love it. I mean, I think my biggest problem with this is like the dirt road makes it feel kind of more fake. You know what I mean?
yeah.
Like it doesn't feel like you've caught this thing in the wild. It feels like, I don't want to say you're at a zoo, but you know, it kind of feels like, oh, it's like on the road where the tiger hangs out. And I just feel like if the tiger was doing this, but it was all grass, 5 stars. So before we get into this image, what is your most difficult image of all time?
I did this crazy shoot with one of the first F-Stoppers videos where we're like suspending the guy with the wakeboard and we're throwing water on him and stuff.
That's got to be it.
That was like a pretty big production. I don't know that I totally loved the images that came out of it. Like,
I did. I like those.
They needed a little more post-production, but the idea was just getting a crazy wakeboard position in the studio.
Yeah.
You know? And so that one was pretty difficult. What about you?
Definitely the most difficult was photographing my dad's car. So it's our most popular video, which I looked the other day. I don't remember how many views it has. It's like 7 million, something like that.
It's been surpassed.
No, I don't think it's been surpassed.
Not yet,
but I
but
looked
it's
it
about
up.
to be.
I was curious to see how much money it's made. Do you know how much money it's made?
$7,000.
Well, I don't know what the real number is. It might say, but we have made zero. Do you know why?
It wasn't it has a copyright.
It has
claim
some
on it?
copyright strike for some song that's like, I swear to God, we had, like, you know, it was like from a stock website or something.
That happens though sometimes. Where like now you need to upload the file to prove, even if you've bought the stock music, it's like they will still pull it. Or what's happened a lot of times is it was available as stock at one point and they've changed. And now the algorithm identifies an old song and says,
Man, I saw that and I got so upset. I was just like, our most successful video of all time, somebody else has made all the money on it.
We've missed the $7,000.
Yeah, it's just the principle of it. And I thought, should I go after this? But I thought, it's such an old video now. It's probably like the money's long gone at this point. So
your most complex shoot, though, has to be the commercial you did for your hot sauce.
That is
That's
true.
video.
That is true.
That was like,
yeah, that was a
every
nightmare.
time I swing by your neighborhood, I see you in the backyard, like doing
With
something.
fire and water
it's-
and sauce flying all over. Yeah, that was the hardest. And I have a behind the scenes video coming soon. I got to finish working on that.
We were just in Sweden last year. We went to Profoto, and Profoto's headquarters has an image similar to this, where they do the milk dress. And I remember them telling, maybe you remember this better than me, but they were saying how frustrating that shoot was because they had milk everywhere and all the technicals about suspending the water, and they were trying to get it very close in camera because they're the lighting company and they didn't want to like totally fake it. But I know Paul Buff had done stuff like this too with the alien bees back in the day. So it's like a common theme, especially in the lighting community.
Yeah.
Because that's kind of the trick.
Obviously, this is difficult because he's got the model. He said the model has to stay perfectly still for 20 minutes while people are just throwing milk at her from all these different sides. He's taken tons of pictures, and then he composited them together to look like this. I think this looks good, but I need to be a little critical. One, I don't know that I love that pure red background. Like, it just kind of looks crappy. There's like wrinkles and stuff in it. I don't know. I don't think it looks that great. I don't like her expression, and I feel like you shot her for 20 minutes and we didn't get a better shot of her face, and I don't like the lighting on her face. I feel like it's way too sidelit. It's like lighting up the bottom of her cheek. It's kind of uplighting too. You see that, like the shadows going up past her nose. Like, I don't think people look good like with that lighting, that was a little strange to me. And then the choice of where to put the milk is kind of weird to me. Like, on the shoulder that's closest to the camera, I feel like that looks awesome. It's like a dress, you know, with a wide shoulder. But then what is going on the far back arm with the, like, just a huge splash coming off? Like, it just doesn't seem like that's a part of a dress. That just seems like a weird splash, and then there's kind of another weird splash coming off her back. And so the reason why I'm being so critical is because I feel like this is so close to just fantastic execution, but it's just not quite as polished as other milk dress shots I've seen.
I think the red background and then all of the like sexiness in this, you know, it makes it feel like you're a photographer trying to take a super sexy image. Where if you could make the background white or beige or some blown out abstract thing, slightly, not quite blown out, but you know what I mean, like close to the color of the dress. I feel like Brian Rogers Jr. does this a lot. He takes a product shot and he uses the background as a color very similar to the product, and it adds this like cool contrast, micro contrast. And then I want like a huge like long dress, cover all of her legs, cover her abdomen. Like, make it to where, like, she is this princess and maybe, she needs a better expression. But instead, it feels like you're trying to, I don't know. It feels too sexy when it could be a true dress. Like, this doesn't even read as a dress. The top part kind of does, and then the bottom part just reads as like milk spraying off of her. I don't know.
Yeah. And again, I just feel like the only reason we're being this critical is because we see so much potential here.
The thing I'm always interested in is, like, is this truly milk or is it paint and water? Did you have to add starch to make it thicker? Like,
He says it's warm milk.
that's crazy that would look like that. Because so many times you have to add things to it to give it a different spray. And, like, look how big those drops are coming off, Like,
Yeah.
is milk naturally going to do that? Did we rate it? Oh, I'm like, I'm going to go 3, but I feel
I'm
like
between a 2 and a 3. I don't know.
I feel like if I had this, I'd have to put it in my portfolio.
Yeah.
Even if, and it'd be one of those, like, images where I feel like it might be weak, or other people are telling me it's weak, but because it was so complicated,
Yeah,
I feel like I just have to.
Like, you probably spent days on this, you know? Days planning, days shooting, days editing, and then you're like, oh, it's just not quite as polished. And that's what's so difficult about these high-level shoots is like, if it fails, it's not like, oh, I went out and took a landscape and it could be better. I'll try again another time. Like, you don't want to try this again. This is a pain in the butt. This might be the most difficult shot we've seen so far.
Speaking of failed photo shoots, we just had a failed photo video shoot.
We did.
We went out to Canada to go snowboarding, and we brought some drones and stuff. We brought a drone.
I'm going to try to turn it on right now. I wonder, like, I was thinking, is there any way that the drone is broken because it's cold? So
I don't know.
This is the drone I literally just did a review on, and I was like, this thing's amazing. I love it. And I barely used it. And then we get to Canada on the ski slope, and I turn it on, and it's like, propeller error or something.
The whole idea was to get some great action camera and drone footage of us skiing and snowboarding, and we're gonna have this thing follow us just above.
Take
to get
off. I think there's a way to talk to this, but I've forgotten how to do it.
No way. So we have footage of that not spinning.
One prop is just not spinning?
Yeah.
What the heck?
And what would have also made it a failure is the second that we realized that it was broken, like Ski Patrol on a Snowcat came up to us and they were like, hey, you can't have drones here on the ski.
They were the
Ski
most,
slope.
because we were in Canada, they were the most friendly. He was like, hey, do you have a drone? And I was like, yeah. And I said, yeah, but it's broken. And he was like, oh, okay, because you're not allowed to have a drone here. So if you were flying it, I'd have to give you a slap on the wrist. And I was like, oh, okay, well, it's broken. But it's not broken. It was just cold, I guess?
Yeah.
I don't know. That's wild.
So we had one DJI product that didn't work, but then I had the Action Cam 5, and that thing looks so good. I put it on this long boom arm that they sell. That you can get it like 6 feet away from you. It's so long. And I could get the camera right near the snowboard and then way up above my helmet and like get that third person view, but then also get a view where it would be way too dangerous for me to be skiing. I was close to you. I felt like at times we were gonna collide. Oh my gosh, so this image, like I totally can relate to this. I think underwater photography, like high-end strobe underwater photography, is the hardest genre I have ever attempted. It's been so many dives that have
It's the
resulted in-
only thing that we've tried multiple times that we've never succeeded at. Every time we try, we'll take photos of stuff. Every picture looks horrific.
Yeah, and we've gone down with the underwater casings with the lights and the strobes and everything. We've backlit it. We've shot in low, shallow water. Nothing looks good. I'm not sure how I feel about this one. This is cool, and I know how difficult this is, but it's also not the most amazing underwater photo I've ever seen.
This was taken by Christopher B. Merritt, and he says this is an emperor shrimp on a Spanish dancer. I don't know what a Spanish dancer is, but he shot this. This is interesting. He shot this on film.
He made it even harder.
Yeah, so he shot it at 35 feet with the Nikon RS. I'm not even familiar with that. A 50 millimeter macro, which I guess you need something that wide or else the strobes just don't work under the water. And then he had dual SB 104 strobes, shot on Velvia film, and then digitized with the Nikon D850, which is kind of ironic.
Yeah.
The thing is, without seeing the shrimp's pinchers, you can't really tell what you're looking at. I don't know. If he had gone into some detail and like, oh, this is an unheard of animal. Nobody's ever photographed one before, and after a month of searching, I found it. And I'd go, wow, that's impressive. But I just kind of feel like he was just swimming around and he just was randomly taking photos, and here's one of them. And this is better than any underwater photo I have taken. But being that you can't really see the whole animal and stuff, it's just...
Well, so sometimes when I would take images, usually we had a point and shoot camera because they're small and the underwater housings are smaller. And then you could have the same lighting. It's like has to be hardwired into the
camera,
the enclosure. It's like the strobe is too powerful, or the TTL is not working, or you get it. It would always be an image like this where I would say, wow, it actually exposed pretty good, correctly, but nothing interesting was going on in the frame. And the other thing is, you're swimming up to a lot of times you're not even swimming up, you're just moving with the tide or the water, the current.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden they see you and they swim off. But you have to be so close. A 50 millimeter macro, you're going to still be pretty close to it. So it's being underwater, it's having to kick and get your position, it's having the current move you in and out, having the animal see you and get away, getting the composition, getting the strobe going off.
I agree.
So many things that even a shot like this is still pretty impressive, but I'm kind of like you. It's not the most memorable shot of I could think of.
Are you ready? 3, 2, 1. I don't know if this is too...
If you have an underwater portfolio and you're on Instagram and you get this of the shrimp, I hope you have all the fish too, but that's worth keeping in the portfolio.
That I don't know that it is. Like on Instagram, sure. But a professional underwater photography portfolio, I just don't know if this cuts it. But if this is some unheard of animal living in this crazy habitat and you had to swim through caves to find it, and this is the only thing I get it, but he didn't say that.
Yeah.
And maybe this isn't, I don't know. Just the fact that you can't see the whole animal.
Sorry, Christopher.
All right, this was taken by Chris Cameron, and he wanted to shoot this sailor whose job it was to stand up on the top of the mast and yell down about changing wind directions or something. That seems like the dumbest. Don't we have the technology? Can't we just look and see the way that the sails are blowing? Maybe he's looking out at sea and he's looking at the way the ripples are in the distance.
Or
maybe
the other boats maybe or something?
I don't know. But Chris says that to get this shot, he had to climb up higher, and then so that his feet weren't in the shot, he's hanging horizontally with his feet out, and the guy's facial expression is basically like, hey man, you shouldn't be doing that, that's not safe. And I do see that in his face.
He's like, oh, not only are you gonna fall, but you're about to take me with you. You're taking this whole boat over.
Yeah. So, critique. I love this composition. The fact that he got that whole boat in there at a diagonal, I think that looks amazing. I like the lighting. I like the sails. I like the colors. I don't know that I like the guy's facial expression.
Yeah.
It feels like an outtake in between the real image.
He should be in agony doing something, or
Right.
he should be like, we're shredding
Yelling
up.
or pointing or something. But this feels like he's like, yo, dude, chill. Don't fall.
Do we have AI that now can fix the face?
I'm sure we do.
You can throw that into Photoshop and put a smile or something on there. I keep thinking so this image, is there strobe involved, or has he pulled the shadows back?
I'm going to guess that.
I kind of want the sea to be just pulled back a little bit, and even if you did the Lightroom, AI masking, I feel like if you just look at this, especially on that screen, just look at that really quick. It takes a while to register what's going on.
Yeah, yeah.
And maybe if you could pull the exposure down on the sea and have him just highlight it a little bit more, or some dodging and burning, maybe that would be fair too, where you could like dodge the mast a little bit more and just really play with the tones. You could make this read a little bit better. But maybe your argument would be, though, with the facial expression, would you go through all that effort?
What do you think about a shallower depth of field? Or does that ruin the shot? Because I
Maybe,
do
but
like seeing the sharp boat.
And I love that this is shot at high noon where you have all that specular highlight in the ocean. If that was all just black, I think you would lose something there too. I mean, maybe it would be cool. I'd have to see it. But I love that there's all this going on. I just want there to be like a third or 2/3 of a stop difference in the exposure on the foreground versus the background. And I understand with it being lit by the sun, it's perfectly even. But I feel like as a photographer, you could tweak that in the edit just a little bit to make it stand out a little bit more. But it's so wild that, like, how did he get up there?
I don't know. Same way this guy did, I guess.
I just can't imagine the photographer's skilled enough to climb that and even consider that. Like, it's pretty gnarly.
Horrifying. All right, ready?
Yeah.
3, 2, 1. I'm in between a 3 and a 4. I don't know. I've given lots of in-between votes today.
I wonder if this guy would ever, like when you're on the bottom on a smaller boat, you could really be leaning. I wonder if he would ever do that, or he would be like, no, that's not what you do up here.
You don't do that, bro.
That would just look so
But
cool.
he also doesn't look up at the photographer. That's definitely not what this guy's job is, right?
I wonder, if he could like look out to the side.
Right.
I don't know. That's an interesting image, though. Final image of the critique.
This was taken by Paul Deere, and man, I love this shot. So he went out to this construction site, and I think this was the plan all along, to shoot on this crane thing. He said the ground was super dirty and muddy, but this dress was very expensive. So they had to use drop cloths all the way out so that she could safely walk out there without ruining the dress. I believe the sunlight is coming from like behind her, camera left.
Yep.
And then she is being lit with a Godox 8600 Pro. I wish he said what type of modifier, but I love the lighting. I think it looks super cool.
How high off the ground is she?
I bet not high at all. And I love the crop that the magazine chose. I feel like it looks so good.
Oh, so I'm looking right now just at the image out of the camera.
Okay.
But if I go, so here's the layout. I don't know if that affects our perception of. I feel like every time I see an image that's been published, I'm like, oh, it's better than just seeing the raw image pre-layout.
Yeah. There's a couple of things, like, if you look at the magazine cover in the very bottom left, you can see just a little bit of that metal chute. Mm-hmm. And I feel like, get that out of there. I don't want to see that little dot right there. But then, under her dress, there's this dark spot right down here in the bottom middle.
Yeah.
And I don't like that. And I feel like, especially for this magazine cover,
It kind of breaks that curve.
yeah, take that out, and then you have that nice little blue line that just goes under the whole dress. I feel like that would look amazing. But from the photography standpoint, I love this. I love the model's pose, love the lighting, love the facial expression, love the concept. Have I mentioned I love this image?
I think this is the best image in the whole critique.
Yeah.
I mean, just in terms of just a beautiful, well-polished, professional image. I keep going with, so I have both of the images on the screen right now. I keep going back to the straight out of camera shot. Do you like seeing the buildings and it places her more in a position of being suspended in the air on a hook? Whereas the crop that they used, it's kind of hard to read the hook. I keep wondering, could the hook be turned more to where you see it? And maybe that would mess up her leg position and everything. The nice thing is the leg, her left leg, the one closest to camera, is the one doing the nice shape. So maybe you could twist that in some way and the rear leg doesn't look weird. I don't know. I love the original image. I can just tell she's suspended in the air and that looks cool. Whereas on the cover, maybe I still do and I'm not giving it enough credit. But I like having like maybe even if you just remove the building and you just gave a little bit more space.
A little more space on the bottom. Yeah, the fact that black area in the back part of her dress is like cutting the bottom of the crop of that magazine cover, it feels like, oh, maybe she's 2 inches off the ground. But you can tell, at least on the original image, that she's at least a few feet in the air.
Yeah, but I see why they did it. They wanted her large on the cover, and
Yeah.
they're trying to fit everything in a really nice way. But beautiful image. Do you wish her arm was just bent a little bit? I never noticed this stuff until working with Joey Wright, and Joey's like, if a limb can bend, it should be bent, and the hand should be cupped and not fingers open. That's not a problem in this image, but I just feel like, but she's kind of leaning back.
I'm not going to complain about that. I think it looks great.
If it was just bent down just a little, just the slightest little, like...
Yeah, it'd be a little better. If her hair was blowing, it'd be a little better. I am curious how they got the dress so good like that. I wonder if somebody was down there like flapping the dress. Because that bend in that dress is so perfect.
Yeah. And you can like see through the top of it. It's like a really interesting dress. I can see why they didn't want it dragging on the ground.
Yeah.
All right, you ready?
3, 2, 1. Should I do it? Should I go?
I'm a strong 4. I don't have a problem rating that as a 5.
I'm just going to go crazy and go world-class image. It's probably not, but whatever. I will not forget this image. I think it looks great. Love the lighting.
There's a photographer that I'm trying to think of. Maybe somebody in the comments can lead me to him. I thought it was Greg Heisler, but I'm not seeing it, where they shot somebody like the Academy Awards. They had the girl hanging on the helicopter, and I think they were on another helicopter, and they're shooting with like a Hollywood sign in the background. You know this image?
No.
This reminds me of that, but I think that one was shot on film. I would argue that this one looks way better.
I'm sure.
But the other one's probably more well-known actress and well-known photographer, but I will have to find that image on my own time. So there you go.
All right, guys, if you would like to be a part of the next critique and win thousands of dollars in prizes, tutorials, gimbals, software, head over to fstoppers.com/contest. Once again, the genre is older cameras. So the camera must be made before 2020.
Or it could be newer, but you have replaced it with a newer camera, and it's just your old camera, you know?
Ideally, the older the better. We just want to see cool images taken on older cameras, especially when you look at older digital cameras on eBay now. You could probably get like full-frame cameras for like $300.
I've thought of that. I've thought that, I take every picture of my son with this, and the iPhone has a very distinct look to it. I was thinking if I just had like you start playing this game of like, how old should it be? Should it be a D300 or should I get a D700 or should I get like an old D3? I don't know. But just one camera with a 50 millimeter 1.2 and just leave that around the house. And like I have all these really cool artsy, more cinematic looking shots.
The thing is,
but then I never do it, and then I can imagine that I never have it with me, and the battery's dead, and it's just. But I was thinking, just put a memory card in there and never take it out, so it's just constantly building.
I like that idea, but we own so many cameras that you wouldn't have to buy another camera.
I could just use the Sony that I already have.
Right, like I got a camera hanging right here. I've got a camera that I put in there. I've got 2 cameras in that case right there. So like you could just get a camera.
I just want something simple that like my wife could use.
Yeah.
But then the autofocus is never as good as the current camera.
Right.
So I don't know. I never did it. Now my son's 2.5, and maybe I've missed out on all those chances of.
Yep, you'll never take another photo of them.
Well, I mean, they're just
no
all,
more opportunity.
They're just all iPhone photos. So.
Sure.
Anyway, let's get out of here. We'll see you guys at the next critique in a month.
See ya.